Hi, I'm Marshall. I'm the owner of Going Gear, and I'm here in our store in Smyrna, Georgia. This is the extended review of the JETBeam 2 Pro.
All right, here we are with one of the coolest and nicest EDC lights that we sell, the JETBeam Jet 2 Pro. A bunch of different versions of it. 4 titanium models. There is a beryllium copper model, and then there is the original aluminum model. So they all have the same performance, same LED, same basic specs, other than the materials of the bodies. So you're going to see weight differences and, of course, cost differences, because the titanium and the beryllium copper are going to bump up the price a decent amount. But the aluminum one is really reasonably priced, especially when you consider all the features that you get. So some basic specs you can see on the aluminum model: 510 lumens from a Cree XPL high, so actually pretty decent distance out of this. 138 meters of beam distance, which is very solid for a light this size. Normally you get 80 or 90 meters out of a light this size with the kind of output that you get on here. 150 hours on the lowest output of runtime. 2 meters of depth resistance, so it's probably IPX8, and then FL1 standard. The drop impact rating is 1.5 meters. And if you want to see the full specs, here they are. This is for the original aluminum one, but they apply across the board. Okay, let's open up the aluminum one and show you what you get inside the packaging. You get the same stuff with the other models, you just get different packaging. So they have, this is the current one, or the newest one, with the beryllium copper. This was the titanium, so you can see what the different packagings look like. So let's just open this up. It's just a clamshell. It's not sealed, which as a retailer I really like, because you can open this up and show a customer and not have this destroyed packaging that you can't do anything with after the fact. So here is the light. Let's take the light, set it to the side. This is a smooth bezel. I'll show you that in a little bit. Just a information card, and then you have the user manual in there, always worth a read. Actually, this is the warranty card, and the user manual is down here. Certificate of approval. I guess they did quality inspection on this, so hopefully this one works. This is a brand new one that I've never touched before, but JETBeam actually has really good quality control. We have very few issues with them. Really nice sturdy lanyard, so you've got a nice sturdy lanyard with an attachment point right there, and you can adjust these. So I use these with my kids' flashlights all the time. I put these on their wrists, and you can adjust it, cinch it up, so they don't just chuck it on the ground and lose it. And then you have a spare O-ring, silica gel packet. We'll stick all that stuff to the side. We're going to keep the bezel out for just a minute. So these are pretty interesting little lights. So you get a bunch of nice features on it. Let's zoom in just so you can see the details and everything better. So really cool styling on it. I really like the design of the light. Just a side switch on there, so there's no rear switch. You got this metal side switch. It's got some nice clicky action to it. Nice pocket clip. It's not one that'll pop off. You can see it actually attaches on the tail cap, so you got a ring that goes all the way around, so it won't pop off on you. But nice and sturdy, pretty interesting design touches on that. But one of the things that people like most about this light is the bezel. So you have this bezel that's attached on there. Really aggressive crenulations on there. JETBeam has actually been making bezels like this for a really long time. I know they've had them for their 3M series. I've seen ones for the RRT series, probably going back like 10 years. So they've been making bezels like this for a while. They were one of the first ones to do it. And this one just threads right on there. So it threads on there, stays on there nice and secure. You've got a decent amount of threads. So if it starts coming unthreaded, you've got a decent amount of threads before it's going to come off. But it stays on there tight if you tighten it on there. And you can see you got some pretty aggressive teeth. We've had some people that actually take and sharpen these. I wouldn't really recommend that if you're going to be putting it in your pocket. Probably wouldn't be so great for your pants or your leg. And then there you can see the reflector down there. So you've got a lightly texture, just very slightly textured, just to smooth out the beam. And then you've got that Cree XPL high LED. So the difference between an XPL high and the regular ones, which are now called the HD, is the XPL highs have no dome, or they have a flat dome over the LED, over the die itself. So you can see down in there, if you look at a traditional LED, let's see what other flashlights we got sitting around here. Let me find one that doesn't have an optic on it, and one with a bezel. Hang on. All right, here's one of my old EDC lights. This is the JETBeam RRT01. So you see the LED down in there itself. It has a clear plastic or acrylic. I'm not sure what the actual material is, but it's actually over the LED itself. And that's called the dome. Well, these have a dome as well, so they do have that material to cover up the LED and just protect it from whatever it needs protecting from. And it's actually flat, so it's just a flat coating over there instead of that dome. And what that does is it makes for a very concentrated beam. So they can basically take the same LED, take the dome off, and it'll bump up the beam distance by about 40% on most lights. So pretty cool that Cree is actually doing that themselves now. There's been some manufacturers that have been popping domes off themselves, but it's actually a manufacturer option from Cree, and they've been doing some really, really nice ones. They got the XHP 35 high and some other really good options. See, the other bezel is if you don't want all those aggressive crenulations on there, you can just put that one on there and have a nice flat bezel. And the way this is designed, you actually don't have to have a bezel on there at all. I don't know why you'd want exposed threads, but just in case you lose both of those for some reason, you can see the bezel actually is above where the lens is, and it's not one that's going to come out. So it's actually recessed down below a lip, and it's got the O-ring seal and everything in there. So if you want to take the bezel completely off, you have that option. You got a nice tail standing ability on there. So you got these 3 points. There's 3 lanyard attachment points if you want to use that. There you can see the pocket clip. Nice tail standing ability. Really, really nice and stable. And then again, you can keep the crenulated bezel if you want it reversed. You can keep it on there the other way and pop it back, flip it around if you want to use it for any reason. There's that metal side switch. Really nice machining and just overall aesthetic design of it. It obviously doesn't add to the performance or anything like that of the light, but hey, if you're going to carry this around on a daily basis, why not have something that looks cool? And they did a good job on that, in my opinion, at least. So here's the tail cap. Let's take that off. And there is some circuitry down in there. There you've got the spring down in there. And then here is the pocket clip, so you can remove that if you want to. One note is that we've had a lot of customers say, hey, my light's not turning on, I can't get it to work reliably. And pretty much every one of them, one, it's either been in lockout, but more common is that this is not seated in there properly. So you've got this notch right here on the pocket clip, and you've got this little divot right there. And you've got another one on the other side, but it needs to set in that. You'll feel it kind of snap in place, and you can use your thumb to hold it down and then put the tail cap back on, and that way it's going to make proper contact. If you don't do that, if you have it kind of turned around, the tail cap a lot of times will not go all the way down, and it will not make proper contact, and you'll either get unreliable operation or you'll get no operation at all. So keep that in mind if you're having trouble with the reliability of the flashlight. That's pretty much the only issue that we've seen, and it's not really an issue. It's just, people aren't putting it in the divot. It's definitely not like a manufacturing flaw or anything like that. And it's actually kind of nice because it keeps the pocket clip from turning around. So it keeps it nice and snugly in place and keeps it from twisting around. So you always have it, where you want it. You can put it on either side, and then you have it oriented just right for the switch. So you can just flip your thumb over to the switch and be ready to go. So I like that they did that. So that is the aluminum model. So this one, pretty reasonably priced. They retail right around $50, which, considering everything you get, I think is very, very reasonable. And then you have the 4 titanium models, which is obviously more expensive. They offer no performance increase, but man, they look cool. They look really nice. So let's zoom out a little bit just so you can see these a little bit better. So there are 3 of the finishes. They actually have a 5th one that's going to be coming out soon. But here is the packaging for the titanium ones. We'll open that up just to show you what you get on the inside. So same stuff. You just have the hard cardboard packaging versus the clamshell plastic kind. And then you have the color matching bezel as well. That's something I wanted to note, is that you have a matching bezel. So you have the titanium light. They didn't throw just a stainless steel thing on there or a black. Well, I guess for the black one they did. But they have color matching for the colored ones. So it actually has a nice tonal match. So pretty cool look to it. So that's the packaging of the titanium ones. And like I said, there's the same specs and everything, same LED, same runtimes, just different body materials. So JETBeam teamed up with knife maker Ricky on the anodizing of the titanium models. So you're going to see some similarities in colors between Ricky's knives and JETBeam's flashlights, which is really cool. You can color coordinate your EDC, which you had the ability in the past, but it was basically black and black or gray and gray or silver and silver, but you've got some other options now as well. So you've got The purple and blue, you can do those together. This one is a yellow and a green, and this one's more of a yellow and a blue, but it's the closest one I had. They do have yellow and blue available as well. You've got the satin, you've got the black with that stonewash look. So it's pretty neat that they teamed up with Ricky on the anodizing of these, so you can take your EDC and take the color coordinating even further than you were able to in the past, which I agree is totally not the most important thing in the world. But hey, if you're buying an expensive knife and a relatively expensive flashlight, why not be able to do that? And now you have that option. So this is kind of the first round we've seen of these. I'd love to see them take this concept even further to see where they can go with this. You can see some of the similar design elements between the knife and the flashlight, but I'd love to see ones that are just like made to go together. So have really similar design elements or the same design elements between the knife and the flashlight. I'd love to see where they could go with that concept. So hopefully we'll see more of this. I talked to the guys at Ricky and the guys at JETBeam, and they seem to want to team up on more stuff. And they've got some other people they might be working with in the future as well. So this is kind of the first step. We'll see where they go with it. But neat concept as a first step. So there are currently 4 different ones. There's a 5th one that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. But the 4 ones are kind of a bead blasted or stonewashed titanium finish. You still have the bezels. You have both bezels on there, so you can reverse that around if you want to. You have a yellowish bluish one, and here is the red and purple and blue one. I can't remember what the colors they call it are, but I keep the screen. People always ask this about the white balance and everything, and I always do a white balance, a custom white balance for the lighting before I ever shoot a video. So these are pretty true to what I'm actually seeing in real life. So these will give you a good approximation of what you're going to see if you actually get one of these lights. And the last one you have here is that black wash finish. So you've got that black finish, and then I don't know how they do it. Maybe they stone wash it. Maybe they take a buffing to it or something like that. But they take down a lot of the black that's on the ridges. So you get these nice pops of the silver, the titanium in there around the ridges and around where the machining edges are. So it gives it a really, really cool look. I like this one a lot. I think it looks great. And then you've got that contrasting stainless steel silver clip, or maybe it's titanium. I should probably look that up. Let's look that up real quick. Well, I can't find anywhere where they actually specify, so I think it is stainless steel. And honestly, I'd rather have a stainless steel pocket clip because it does better with bending and having memory. And I like stainless steel as a material for a pocket clip on flashlights anyway. So I'm going to say it's stainless steel. I think it is. I'm not sure if they ever specify that anywhere. I couldn't find it in the specs or anything. Another thing I didn't know before is there are some slots here in the tail for tritium. So if you're in a place where you can get tritium easily, the United States is kind of difficult. You have to get a very special license to be able to legally sell it. So you don't find it many places, but there are slots in there for tritium if you want to put that in there. And then the aluminum one does not have those. You're just going to have that on the titanium models, and I believe the copper one as well, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. So really cool finishes on these. I like titanium. Again, it doesn't really offer any performance benefits, but man, it looks cool and it feels cool, and you get the anodizing options and just a neat material that's fun to have, but it definitely does bump up the cost a decent amount. So the last one that we have is the beryllium copper. Again, the same specs. So you got the same LED, the same output, all that same stuff, but you get a beryllium copper body. So a little bit different packaging on this. You get the same accessories and everything. So the copper version is using an alloy that I'm honestly not really familiar with. They call it beryllium copper. And it's obviously not raw copper, because raw copper has a very different look to it. It looks like, well, raw copper, and this has more of a gold tint to it. But it doesn't appear to be anodized. It doesn't appear to be coated in any way, which I really like. I've actually been carrying and handling this one a decent amount, and it's already starting to develop a little bit of a patina. So I'm going to say this is more like a brass kind of alloy, where you get a little bit of patina to it, just not to the extent that you're going to get with raw copper, where it basically has that very pronounced patina or tarnishing overnight. It looks like this one's going to be a little bit more subtle. I can't find anywhere where they actually specify it in the specifications. I probably should have contacted JETBeam before I made this video to clarify some stuff, but it is a beryllium copper body according to JETBeam. It has that nice copper weight and feel. And it's obviously an alloy of some kind because you have the different coloring to it. You have the matching bezel, so you've got the matching bezel on there. If you want to flip it around, you can do that. And then you have the silver colored switch on there, which is a nice kind of contrast to the body. And you'll notice that it's actually more of a rectangular shape versus the circular one that you have on all the other models. And another thing that they did on this one is they didn't put the divot for a pocket clip, so you don't have to worry about orienting it in the proper place, but it also does twist around a little bit, which can be a positive or negative depending on your preferences. You do have the tritium slots there on the back. You can still remove the bezel if you don't want it on there. One other thing to note is that these just come with the crenulated bezel. They do not come with the flat bezel that the other versions come with. But that's not really a big deal. When I've been carrying these, I haven't been using the flat bezel at all. If you really want it to be not the super crenulated bezel, just flip it around or take it off. You still have that option. But I really like this one. I like the feel, I like the weight of it, and I like that new switch. You got that cool switch on there versus the original circular. Total personal preference, you know, the aluminum versus the titanium versus the copper one. Total personal preference. Again, you're not going to get any performance difference. They're all using the same LED. They have the same circuitry and all that kind of stuff. It's just, hey, if you want those different colors, you want those different materials, you have that option. You don't have to buy it, but having the option, I love it when companies do stuff like that because, you know, it gives you choices. You don't have to get just the same flashlight that everybody else is getting. You have some choices in the colors and finishes and materials and everything. Okay, let's talk about the interface and everything of the Jet 2 Pro. All right, so all of the Jet 2 Pros are powered by a single CR123 battery. So we're going to take a CR123 and stick it in there. Positive end goes towards the head. You can see there's not any extra room in there, so we always get the question of whether or not lights this size can use an 18350, and in this case, no, it cannot. That would also make it a wider body. So they wanted to keep this nice and compact. So just CR123s or 16340s. I always go 16340s because generally you get a little bit higher output, and they're rechargeable. They have usually a lower runtime, so you get about half the runtime in general, but you get rechargeable batteries, so you don't have to keep on feeding these things the relatively expensive CR123s at, you know, $1 or $2 a pop. Kind of adds up. So anyway, the interface on this is just all controlled by this side switch. Same interface on all the different models, including the one with the different side switch. Tap that side switch and it'll turn the light on unless you have it in lockout, which from the manufacturer, a lot of these come in the lockout mode. And the way to get it out of the lockout is press and hold, and after a few seconds the light will activate. And the lockout to turn it on does the same thing. So just press and hold for a few seconds. You'll get a quick flash like that, and then the light will not operate. Unless you do triple clicks like that, then you can get into strobe, but the regular operation you can't get into. So press and hold and it'll get back out of that. All right, and then the regular operation, tap the switch to turn the light on, press and hold to cycle through your regular modes. You will not get the 0.5 lumens, that moonlight mode. The way to get into that is from off. Double click real quickly and you get that 0.5 lumens, which I love lights that, for one thing, they have moonlight in the first place. People always talk about, do you ever use this? And yes, absolutely. Moonlight is the output that I use more than anything else. And the reason is, in the dark, looking in on my kids, or, you know, my eyes are adapted to the dark, I don't want to blow out my night vision. This is the perfect amount of light. It'll let you see what's in front of you. It'll let you see the ground in front of you. If you just came in out of like a sunny room and you go somewhere super dark, yeah, it's probably not going to be enough light for that. But in general, I find this super, super useful. It doesn't disturb your night vision. It doesn't disturb other people. So you can quickly get to that from off. So I really like lights that have the moonlight in the first place, but you can also get to it from off instead of having to cycle through all the other outputs, because that kind of defeats the purpose. And you also get incredible battery life on that. So let's take a look at the manual. We saw the ANSI specs before, but 0.5 lumens, it'll run for 150 hours. So 150 hours, pretty long. And you see the 510 lumens, it's going to run for 0.75 hours, as with pretty much every flashlight on the market, especially ones this size, putting out 400 or 500 lumens or even lower than that. It's going to drop after a little while, so I want to make sure I talk about that. Let's see. It'll automatically step down slowly till the output is lower than 65% of the turbo brightness when the temperature is too high. So it is based on temperature, which is really nice. A lot of them are based on time. This one's based on temperature, so when it starts getting too hot, it'll drop it down. If you're holding it, that helps decrease the temperature. Air circulation helps decrease the temperature. Being in the cold temperature helps decrease the temperature, obviously. So all of those factors will give you a little bit better runtime because it's based on temperature and not time. And it's kind of a slow step down, which is nice versus just an immediate drop, so your eyes don't really notice it at all. But it's good because it protects you, protects the light, protects the circuitry, protects the batteries and everything. You don't want a light that's just going to overheat and rely on you to turn it off. Because, hey, what if you set that down and you're not using it and all of a sudden this thing overheats and explodes, which lithium batteries definitely can do. Everybody's heard about laptops and cell phones and all that kind of stuff lighting on fire, and these are no exception. So you want the protected batteries, you want the protection circuits in there, you want the temperature protection, which this light has all of that to keep you safe. So anyway, back to the interface. You've got the press and hold to cycle through your different outputs. I'll show you how to get into the moonlight. If you want to get into the max output, do a double click while it's on, and then it'll go straight into that max output without having to cycle through your other outputs. And then strobe as well. So you saw the strobe a little while ago. Triple click to get into the strobe, and you can get to that from on or off. No other flashing modes. You just have the strobe. You don't have SOS or beacon or anything like that. You do have a timer mode. So if you have it turned on 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see a couple flashes. A couple flashes means that the timer is 4 minutes. 1, 2, 3 flashes means that the timer is 9 minutes. So it's kind of nice. You know, I didn't really understand the purpose when some manufacturers started doing this, but I've actually used it a few times myself, you know, using it as a night light. The bigger reason I do it is because I give it to one of my kids, especially my 2-year-old, and he's not the best about turning the lights off. He's really bad about setting them down on the ground and just kind of leaving them there. So you turn on that 3-minute timer, and you don't have to worry about dead batteries every time you hand it to your kids. A lot of other applications. I've heard from people in the comments saying what they use the timer for. So if you use the timer on these flashlights or any of the other models that happen to have this feature, let me know. I'm always interested to hear how people use lights, especially interesting or unique features like that. So that's the interface. Let's go over it again real quick. Tap that side switch to turn it on, press and hold, and it will cycle through your different outputs. From on, double click, and it'll go straight to the max output. From off, double click, it'll go straight into the moonlight. And then you can still press and hold when it's in the moonlight to cycle through your other outputs. You do have a, wait, nope, I was wrong on that. Let's take a look at that again. I should probably, it just cycles through moonlight and max output. Hey, that's kind of cool. There you go. That's something that the manual doesn't specify. So you have the ability to cycle straight between the max output and then the moonlight when you turn it on straight into moonlight. So I showed you how to do the lockout a little while ago. Again, same features and functions and everything on the other materials. So you have that side switch to turn the light on, press and hold, cycles through your different outputs. You got the double click to go straight into max, double click from off, go straight into your moonlight. And let's see if this does the same thing. Yep, does the same thing. So it just cycles between moonlight and then the high when you turn it on straight into moonlight. And then you have the strobe and all that other stuff. So you're going to see the same interface, same features, same output and everything. You're just going to get the different body materials when you go for any of the titanium models or the copper model. So that is the JETBeam Jet 2 Pro. Since the performance is the same on all of these, we're just going to take one outside and we'll show you how these little lights do outside.
All right, we're outside with the JETBeam 2 Pro. Got the stabby bezel on there just in case a tree tries to attack me while I'm out here. Got the big 40 mag light that I always use as a control since pretty much everybody knows what that can do. Let's go ahead and try out the mag light first. Tree right there is about 30 feet away. I don't think it's trying to attack me yet. We'll keep an eye on it. And then the dock house down there is about 100 feet away. So there's your mag light. Let's try out the 2 Pro. All right, got it turned on. It's in the low output. You can see it's making it out to the tree okay. Actually, I don't know if you can actually see that on the camera, but it is making it out to the tree okay. Really good for up close kind of stuff. Let me show you the ultra low or moonlight or whatever they call it while we're at it. Super low output, really great battery life, really great for up close kind of stuff. Obviously, you can see a usable amount of light. I have the camera adjusted to pretty much what my eyes see. So a usable amount of light coming out of this thing on that ultra low. and you're not going to disturb people around you. You're not going to mess with your night vision. I really like outputs like that. I definitely recommend them to other people. But let's try the higher output. So we're just going to press and hold and let it cycle through your different outputs. So there's your max output. You can see nice solid beam distance out of this compact light using a single CR123. Actually, I have an RCR123 in there right now. Let's zoom in on the dock house 100 feet away. You can see how well it's lit up. It's not lighting up a massive area with its hotspot, but it's lighting up a pretty wide area, and then it has a very usable spill. So a nice bright spill and a good transition between the two. This thing's using that XPL high LED, so you get solid beam distance out of this nice compact little light. Let me show you the other outputs. Again, we'll just cycle through, see what those look like. I'm repeating myself at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, very, very cool light. I was very impressed by these. When I first saw the pictures, I was like, that's kind of cool. And then I got them in, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. The bezel that you can turn around, you can swap it out for the flat bezel. You got the nice beam distance on it. You got the solid interface, just the cool styling on it. You got the nice clip. They did a really good job on this one. Anyway, let's take this out to a longer distance and we'll see how it does with the longer distance. All right, got some more space to try out the JETBeam Stabby Stabber. Let's see what it can do with some more open space. All right, there is a boat about 20 feet away. Got a couple targets set up out there. First one is at 50 yards. Second one on the left is at 100 yards. That white sign is at about 60 yards, and then the tree line beyond is at 130 yards. And you see it's lighting all that up pretty well, especially the lighter parts of everything. Really impressive for a light this size. So you got this nice compact light, bunch of cool features in it. It's really small. It's surprisingly small. You put it in your hand and you're like, man, this thing and the output that it gives you, and you got the bezels and everything on it. There's a lot going on with this light, especially considering the size. And you got really good beam distance out of a light this size. Normally lights this size, they go for kind of a floody beam. And you can see, while it does have that concentrated hot spot that gives you the good distance, the spill is still really, really bright. So you got that nice bright spill that's lighting up a wide area once. Really great mix between the distance and the spill. They did a really good job on tuning the reflector and LED to make it a very good all-around pocket EDC light. But let me show you the other outputs just so you can see what those look like. We'll do them on the boat. You can see what those are like, and then we'll do the double click and go straight into that low output. So there you go. That is the JETBeam 2 Pro. If you like it, you can buy it from me at goinggear.com. Any questions or comments, you can reach me in the comments or any of my guys at goinggear.com. As always, get going and start something. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go stab some trees. Meh, 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 meh.